Hey everyone, and welcome to Maed with Intention. We're two women sharing our expertise in entrepreneurship, discussing life lessons, and everything in between. Today we are discussing confidence. I hope that you'll feel understood. I hope that you're going to learn something because actually, May is the best there is when it comes to self confidence. So, welcome, May. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I didn't even notice that you had that little note in there. So thank you for the shout out.
Well, I have to tell you, whenever I'm feeling like meh, I'm like, what would May do? Because you are the queen of self confidence and I love it.
I so appreciate that because it's been work. And a lot of people come to me with hashtag WWMD. It will be merch.
Yes,
It's coming.
we need it.
That's such an honor just from, my personal experience.
I'm glad we're doing this episode because I think that I love doing the podcast with you in general because I feel like it's pushing me out of my comfort zone and I'm always willing and happy to go there. I feel like anytime you're out of your comfort zone, that's where you grow. And so I just appreciate that you're like, I know, let's do confidence. I'm like, okay. Not feeling very confident going in this, but we're gonna get through it. It's gonna be fine.
I love that. I wasn't very confident going into podcasts, and so here we are.
Really?
No,
Here we are.
because I had just never done it before. So kudos to us for pushing ourselves outside of our
Yeah,
comfort
go us.
zones.
We're awesome.
We are though.
Let's talk about our journey, the journey like with confidence. How confident do you feel on a day-to-day basis and how did you get to where you are?
It depends. I think for all of us, right? It depends on the day, depends on what we're doing, depends on how we feel. Heavily depends on our gut health. It just depends. There are so many factors. And so for me, I truly believe that confidence it's not even like a feeling, it's a foundation. And it's that you're focused on creating this foundation for yourself and these systems and these routines and these rituals that keep you, at your foundation. For me, it's one of those things that life experiences that were horrible but they blessed you in a certain way wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily horrible, but I was a chubby kid. I had a lazy eye. I still do. I had surgery on it, which we'll get into. I had a lot of things working against me where I should have felt not confident. I
Hmm.
was a nerd. I was super smart. I was class president. I was always a teacher's pet. um, but I owned it. I owned it because even now I'm the type, you can bring me to a boardroom or you can bring me to a corner in the hood. I'm gonna be fine wherever you bring me, no matter the person. And so at a very young age, I just created this behavior where whenever I walk into a room, I expect everyone to like me. And I think we said this on a different podcast about my dad, how he noticed that in me as a child. And that is a great method and it's something that I encourage everyone to do. But for me, that came out of necessity. It came to me
Hmm.
as a kid. That's how I had to move. I could feel badly about it or, just show off my personality, which is fire, and my humor and my kindness and my warmth. And those are things that I've always been confident in. Um,
Do you
the
think
flip
that those
side, I will say, go ahead.
Do you think that those things, the teacher's pet, the being super kind, the humor, expecting to be liked, do you think those traits of your personality really came through because of the physical things, the chubbiness, the lazy eye? Like, do you think you had to almost make up for those things that you felt sort of held you back?
Not really. I feel like honestly, thanks to my parents, to any of the parents listening, I will say my parents have always told me repeatedly how beautiful I am, and they've always told me that I am like the most intelligent to ever do it. And on top of that, they raised really, really intelligent children. Like we did science stuff when I was a toddler. I was reading by the age of 3. And my mom taught me how to read because I was so stubborn. Like, no, I want to do it myself. And she taught me.
Hmm.
And so I think that was a big part of it. I've always known that I can do anything. And my parents drilled that into me. I know that's a sensitive topic for some people. They feel like that's not
Mm.
realistic. I entirely disagree. Like I feel genuinely in my heart that I can do anything. My parents kind of beat that into me when I was a kid. So I think that part, I think it was more so coming from a place of, oh no, I got this. Like I actually
Mm.
am these things. I don't have to fake it. And I've actually never been into fake it until you make it. That's
Hmm.
not my vibe. I'm more of like believe it until you see it. And so I
Okay.
wasn't faking anything. It's like, no, my personality is great. I am really intelligent. Why not be the class president? I was already working on my resume in 5th grade. And so, yeah, I think it was coming from that place. But But it was tough. It was tough. And also throughout high school and college, I was the chubby friend. I definitely overcompensated for that with sex. I was very promiscuous for sure. I have no regrets about it. It was fun. It was a great time. But I was out here.
Mhm.
And I know looking back, although I have no regrets, I can see now the reasoning behind it. I can see the negativity behind it. It was definitely like for attention. It was like a quick fix.
Mhm.
Although I miss those days every day. And I wish I could go back to that way of thinking just for like 24 hours. Um, so yeah, so it was definitely tough as I got older. And I will say one thing that I've always had that has helped me is the business side of things. You know, I was always
Mhm.
a great employee. I always had great jobs. I had good grades. I got into great schools. Um, I got great awards. I was president of this, and so I've always been very ambitious. And maybe unhealthily, that helped my confidence because at least, you know, in one area of my life, I really am excelling, and I would just transfer
Right.
that confidence to everything else. Yeah. So it was pretty much like that until I hit 30. And I feel like once I hit 30, and I'm sure there are like 50-year-old women listening to this, like, you have no idea. But
Yeah.
when I turned 30, like everything changed. And I wasn't one of those people who was like, oh, I'm so scared to turn 30. I'm going to be so old. Ever since I was a teenager, 30 looked lit. Like 30
Mhm.
was the when I just thought everything was going to come together. And although that was a lie, in some ways it was true. And one of
Mhm.
those things was like the way I took care of myself changed, the way I thought about myself changed, the way I moved changed. And so when I turned 30, it's like my confidence just, I thought I had it and I had no idea because it just got even crazier, or in a good way.
Yeah, that's great.
What about you?
I would say that I was super insecure growing up, and I not entirely sure where that came from. Um, I mean, I don't know, I just didn't feel super secure. And so I feel like in my 20s, especially early 20s, I just wasn't like the nicest person. I wasn't nice. And I remember feeling like, because I got Lyme disease when I was 24-ish, 25. And by the time we realized it was Lyme disease, I'd been to like 9 doctors in 9 months. Nobody really knew what was going on. Finally, we got an answer. At that point, I was bedridden for a short period of time and I was so depressed. And I just remember thinking, like, man, I wouldn't be friends with me if I weren't me. Like, I don't even like myself. And that was a really tough thing to hear yourself
Yeah.
say, that
And you were young.
I don't even like myself. Young, but like not super young, 25 years old, 26 years old. Like that's a quarter of a century of being in your own body and not liking who you are. That's a long time to try to get to know yourself and then realize like,
Mhm.
ooh, I don't even like you. And so I made a pact to myself like, if I ever get better or when I get better, I'm just going to live really on purpose, really intentionally. And I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to do the things I want to do. I'm going to stop playing small. I'm going to stop like picking on myself. Like I was so, nothing was ever good enough, ever. Whether it's my body, my work, whatever I did, it was like I just could find nothing to be celebratory about. And so, anyway, that I'm so grateful for that awful time in my life because it really pivoted the situation. I felt like I had been in my body for 20 something plus years living this very negative life, and now all my health was taken away from me. I'm bedridden. I'm like, all right, what's really important? Like is this really that important?
Right.
Is and so anyway, when I got better, I just every year the focus was consistent, trying to improve, trying to grow, try to be better. And now I feel the best I've ever felt in terms of confidence, in terms of I genuinely like myself. I would be friends with me. I would be honored to be friends with me if I weren't me.
Hell yeah.
And I think that I also think there are a lot of cultural things around it too, because I think some people would say like, let's not tell our daughters that they're beautiful
Yep.
because then that places so much emphasis on how you look, However, I also see a different side of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that someone hearing, I genuinely like myself, I would be honored to be friends with myself. That also sounds very selfish, which is a thing we've been taught to, not want to be. But I know you and I both have feelings on that.
Yes.
Um, and so, yeah, I feel really good now, but it took me a really uh, awful sickness and illness to get to this place. But I'm really thankful for it.
Doesn't it always work out that way though?
It's always something, that kind of sets things in a different direction.
It's so annoying. I'm like, I don't want to go through the bad things, but they always help.
Right? Do you have anything to add to that?
To my journey, not for now.
Okay.
No.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. The last few years have been really challenging for many of us, and so many people have been struggling with their mental health. If you're struggling as well, BetterHelp is offering our listeners 10% off their first month with code YBC. All therapists are licensed, accredited professionals. Pay a low, flat fee for unlimited therapy with your therapist and communicate with your therapist as often as you want and whenever you feel it's needed. To check it out, go to betterhelp.com and use code YBC for 10% off or click the link in the show notes. Again, that's YBC for 10% off or click the link in the show notes.
All right, let's dive into one of my favorite things, well, for both of us, beauty, and how beauty relates to confidence. And I think you just hit it perfectly before the break about that sensitive matter, with telling young girls or anyone, oh, you're so beautiful. For me personally, like I have, oh my God, how many? I have four nieces,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell them that they're beautiful all the time, but I'll tell them that they're intelligent first. And
Mm-hmm.
so we'll just highlight that. But like you said, by saying, oh, that means that there's an emphasis on looks or you're paying too much attention to your looks, I feel like it's worse because you're making this standard. Like, so if I don't say it to you, you're not that. You know what I mean? How do you
Yeah,
feel
I
about
get
it?
it. Well, I see both sides of it. I like the emphasis on you're so smart, uh you did amazing, your performance was great, you speak really well, whatever. And then also, I love this dress, you look beautiful, whatever. I think that it's important. I know a lot of really good looking people who are not beautiful people. And
Absolutely.
that in that the inside is ugly and it comes out outwardly and you can see that. And I know a lot of people who may not be conventionally good looking, but I think they are so beautiful because of who they are and how I really feel. I know this is a little eye roll inducing, but I really do feel like beauty, a big part of beauty comes in the aura that you carry with you and how you carry
The
yourself
majority.
and who you are. Like, who are you to people? To people who can do nothing for you. Who are you? And then that kind of tells me if you're beautiful or not, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Entirely. And thought is going. Sorry, Dan. I'm going to make note right now of what's the timestamp? It is
Right.
15:31.
I have 1334. Okay.
We don't forget. And entirely with that, some of the most attractive people I know are the least confident people that I know.
Yeah.
And like you said, that exudes through your aura, right? Because confident people usually aren't mean to people or tearing people down. My
Hmm.
definition of a confident person is not someone who takes glory in tearing other people down, bringing other
Hmm.
people down. They're the people who hype people up. They exude, like you said, their aura is all love because they're full of love for themselves, and there's an
Yeah.
overflow, and now they
Yeah.
can share that overflow with you. And so yeah, I'm all about everyone being beautiful. And for anyone listening, if you are interested in men, something that works very well with me is I'll see a man and I'll go up to him and just be like, "You are so beautiful," and leave it at that and walk
Mm.
away, and they will always come find you after. But it's because I genuinely feel that men are not told that enough, and I think it's
I
even
agree.
right. And people even to
Hmm.
say the word beautiful for a man, it's like, no, he's not beautiful. He's handsome. No, he's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we all need to hear that more. And then especially for me, I'm so grateful as a Black woman that my parents really beat that into me. They always said, "You have the most beautiful complexion. I love your shade of brown. You're so perfectly brown." Um, and I do the same with my nieces. I don't ever want there to
Hmm.
be any misconception or any shame about being Black, especially since in many ways that is for us constantly in ways we're told that it's not okay. And so
Hmm.
yeah, for young Black girls or young Black humans or humans of color, I think it's so important for them to hear how beautiful they are.
Mm. What would you say, like, what makes you feel beautiful on days that you wake up and like don't feel so great?
Oh, so last night actually I had a selfish seminar from my monthly group, the Selfish
So
Reset.
explain what that is for anyone who doesn't know.
So the Selfish Reset is a monthly membership, and it's just for women, and it's designed to elevate your confidence and take the power and the positive back in being selfish. The word selfish has such a negative connotation, and I'm very proudly selfish. I think that it's a great thing, and it's why I'm able to love others so much, is because I love myself so much and I love myself first. And so considering that's my definition of selfishness, I feel most confident in, oh, first let me tell you about last night. So last night I had a selfish seminar and I hosted a discussion on how to detach your productivity from your sense of self-worth, especially for those
Ooh.
of, it's huge, right?
Hmm.
And it's been beat into us at a very, very early
Yeah.
age. And in 2020, my life was just such a mess. I couldn't do anything. There were days I just laid. And so I was, again, just like we said, I was put in a crash course real quick on how that's unhealthy and it's unsustainable. And so, with all of that said, my sense of confidence, my sense of self worth comes from my self care, which I'm sure is not surprising at all. It's in my rituals, it's in my routine, it's in washing my face, it's in using my favorite serums, it's in taking a shower, journaling. It's all of those things because when I'm done, I just feel so proud of myself for intentionally dedicating time to myself to be a better person. And I think you hit on this earlier. Also, my confidence is rooted in my desire, my effort. That's it. As long as I'm showing up as my best self,
Mm.
that's when I feel the most confident.
I like that. Your confidence is rooted in your effort.
Because
I
if you
really like
know you're
that.
about it and you're putting in your best, then you're like, yeah,
Mm.
I'm doing it. And if you feel like you're not doing everything that you could be, I feel like that's when you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is power in there's something to be said for when you look good, you feel good.
yes.
And I don't necessarily mean like when you look good, like that, looking good can be anything from what you're wearing to jewelry to makeup to clothing, whatever. I think it's kind of individual. And it's one of the reasons that, I mean, I've been working from home since the dawn of time, and I always will get dressed. Sometimes that getting dressed is like a sweatsuit, but it's a nice sweatsuit and I feel really good in it. And that's the important piece is like when you feel good in it, you're going to exude a different type of energy than when you are wearing something or you've got makeup on that doesn't feel like you, or you're not wearing makeup when you're typically a person who does wear makeup. Like, to me, it's not like, all right, here's the formula. You've got to wear makeup. You've got to have a nice outfit. It's not like that. It's like whatever works best for you. And then that changes how show up in the world.
I entirely agree. And I've gone to like, I went to someone, maybe a psychic or that type of vibe, and she was even saying, I'm a Taurus, and Tauruses are aligned with Venus. So we are all about femininity, comfort, beauty, money, all of those lovely indulgences, food, all the senses. And I went to this woman, and she was like, as a Taurus, you have to look good because you feel good when you look good. Like you really depend on, like, your wellness is attached to how you feel. And I think you said it perfectly. It's for every individual person. You have to decide what that means for you. What are some for you? Like what are, other than the sweatpants, like a nice sweatsuit, what makes you look good so that you feel good?
I like the ritual of putting on makeup 99% of the time. On like a Saturday morning, I'm not putting on makeup. But for any other day where I feel like I need to show up and tackle my to-do list, I want to show up with a fresh face, like ready for the day. I like my hair done, and not necessarily done, but like I don't want it to be greasy. Like I want like a fresh blowout. I want makeup on. I just feel good. I like earrings. I like I like rings. I like dainty jewelry. Um, I have to wear socks. I hate being barefoot. Hate it so much unless I'm at the beach, but otherwise like I wear socks all the time. I like to feel cozy, but like a little bit glam. That's how I would describe my aesthetic, and that's what makes me feel good. How about you?
Perfectly said. I live by my structure for getting dressed is first I need to be comfortable, and then second I got to be cute. Um and those are just the two things that I need. But yeah, I would say like how I dress. I would say I definitely feel better when I have less clothing on, and I don't mean that in a scandalous way. I just mean like even if I'm wearing actually no, I just feel better when I'm not cold. I just feel better when I'm not cold because I still wear sweatsuits in Colombia.
Yeah, I think that's me too. Cause I'm like, I do like, unless I'm at a hot beach where I want to wear basically nothing, I want to be in a snowsuit. I want to be so cozy and
Cozy.
warm with layers that I just don't ever want to be cold. I hate being cold.
I don't feel good and I definitely don't look good when I am cold. So that is a huge one is I am most confident when I'm warm. And I do I like to be able to I feel most confident when I can wear something that is comfortable but I can still show off my body because I love every piece of it.
Hmm.
And I want to see it when I walk by every mirror that I'm going to look in.
Hmm.
Definitely like little things like getting my eyebrows threaded and you already
Yes.
know my
And
nails, how I
tinted. Do you tint
and
your
tinted
eyebrows?
I do with henna.
Oh, I love it.
It just
Love it.
changes the game, right? Like
It
it's a
changes it. It
oh.
changes everything. I was doing eyelash extensions for the longest
How did you
time.
like them?
I loved and hated them. I loved them because I felt like I didn't have to try to show up with that fresh face. Like it was just, I felt like I had mascara on and I was like ready to go. And I didn't look, like I just woke up first thing in the morning, which I really loved. But there were a lot of maintenance. They were kind of expensive. And I just felt like I needed a break. And I also feel like the last couple years, that's a real look, a kind of like a trend. And now I feel like the trend is more in the direction of a little bit more pared down, the no makeup look, that sort of vibe. And I don't love how I wake up in the morning without those lashes, but it's nothing that like a good coat of mascara can't do,
There is nothing that mascara can do. I
right?
live for it. That is one of mine for sure. Is
Yeah,
like you said, if even if I have nowhere to go, I'm like, let me just put on some mascara real
for
quick.
myself,
That's
for
it. It's
myself.
little lip color, just a little tint here and
I
there.
love a lipstick, like a bold lipstick and sweatpants. That's like and big hoops. Like that's
The
my
look,
favorite thing. Or little like diamond
absolutely.
studs. Yeah, that's my thing.
Clean and
I'm
cute.
looking at our notes here, and you have a note about your eye. Do you want to talk about
Ooh,
that?
I will actually because this touches on making changes to your body. So,
Hmm.
as I mentioned, I don't think I was born with a lazy eye. My parents noticed a switch when I was 2. My mom says
Oh,
that it's because my parents, yo. My mom says it's because when my dad, I'm sorry. My dad
I
was
can't
changing
wait to hear what this is.
it's so
Oh
dumb.
boy.
But my dad was changing my diaper and he got a bunch of baby powder in my eye, like a lot. And so my mom thinks that that's why. I personally
Oh
just
God.
I can see it in my niece and
Hmm.
different people in my family. No one's had it to the extent that I did, but you can see laziness, and I just feel like it's a genetic thing. But
I
that's
don't see a lazy eye though. Did you say you had surgery?
I did. So I had I always had a lazy eye since I was 2, and had to do exercises like we would have to go to the eye doctor, like a special eye
Wow.
doctor, and they would give me patches to put over my right eye so that my left eye could exercise, right, because it's lazy, it's
Okay.
tired. And so it
Oh,
was
interesting.
so it's basically like your muscle is fatigued. Well, at the time I thought it's like your muscle is fatigued, so you want to strengthen it like any muscle, right?
So it's the actual eye, not the eyelid, right?
Exactly. And it's
Okay.
like where the direction that I look. So
So
girl,
okay.
Yep. So mine veered toward the left. And growing up, like there were times where if you knew me, you didn't even realize it. Because after I got surgery, I've even had friends who would be like, "Yo, I really didn't notice a difference," because they
Right.
don't see it. But meeting people, they'll be like, "Are you looking at me?" Or kids like, "Are you talking to me? Like, who are you looking at?" So I
Right.
I had to deal with things like that, and you just get used to it.
Hmm.
But again, the confidence comes. I could have went two different paths, and I chose confidence. And
Yeah.
so always lived with it. My parents were anti, surgery. I didn't want to wear the patches, so we let it go. And I'm like, this is me. And so for
Hmm.
me, I'm huge on embracing whatever it is that you could change or want to change about yourself. I'm huge on embracing it. So in college, I was known for a full Goucher college sweatsuit with bright ass makeup, like bright ass eyeshadow. And
Yeah.
I accentuated the thing that I could have been most ashamed about or embarrassed about. I chose to
Cool.
highlight it. And people always have told me, even then, like, you have such beautiful eyes. Wow, your eyes are, because my eyes are so big. Um, so that was the vibe. So then I was a nomad. I decided to move back to Providence. LOL, never again. But I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. So I was like, let me move home and have some stability. I miss having an apartment. And I went to an eye doctor, and I just chose any random eye doctor. And she was like, first of all, you don't need contacts. I was wearing contacts in my lazy eye. She's like, you don't need that. You're wasting money. So I've been
Mm.
buying double the amount of contacts my whole life that I could have been
Ugh.
buying. Right.
Yeah.
And then she pointed out also that I didn't know, she's like, any doctor cannot legally give you glasses that aren't anti-shatterproof because I have one eye to
Wow.
rely on, because I can see, but I can't read out of my left eye. And
Oh, I
so,
didn't realize that.
yeah, it's like, it's there. I can see everything, but they don't necessarily work together. And
Okay.
so she told me that. I'm like, wow, never knew that. And
Yeah.
then she's like, I really think you should go see this doctor. He has great reviews. He's a friend of mine. He's great. And this is covered by your insurance, because surgery it's not an aesthetic, it's a medical thing,
Right.
it's a safety thing.
Yeah.
I never knew
Hmm.
this. I thought that it was just for the look of it. So I was like,
Right.
whatever, I can just love myself.
Yeah.
And I go to this doctor, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I scheduled it for like 2 weeks later. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. This is huge. I did not pay $1. I paid
Wait, so
nothing.
how do they get to your eye?
So I got put under
P.S.
anesthesia.
I have such an
Oh
eye
yes, I
phobia.
forgot.
Like I'm dying inside. I'm holding my eye.
she
I can't.
For those of
Okay,
you
so
not
how did they get
watching
it
this,
there?
for those of you not watching this on YouTube, Candace is holding an eye right now. Okay, I'll tell you delicately, but it's fascinating. And you like the other stuff, the body
Yeah.
stuff. So you'll
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
So I go to the doctor, and he explains it. I never even really knew this, but basically, if you think of your eyeball, right? This
Hmm.
is your eyeball. It's a circle. Those of you listening, imagine a circle. On the left side and the right side of your eyeball, you have a muscle. So you have two muscles, one on the left, one on the right, right? My left muscle was tighter than my right muscle.
Wow.
Yeah. So they
Why?
go, who knows? Who knows?
Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't even, how I said as a kid, like it was to strengthen your muscle, right? It was
Right.
past that. That's a lot of work
Okay.
it was more so. So this is the part that you'll really love is I actually, to this day, I don't know how they even get behind my eye. I have no idea. I was knocked out. They snip the right one, and then so that the right one is the same length as the left, and then reattach it so that my eye is veering straight. Isn't it
Oh
crazy?
God. Oh God. Oh God.
And when I
Okay.
tell you, well, healing was wild. My eye was swollen, of course, and I had a double vision for maybe like 3 weeks. It was
Oh
really
my
hard.
God. That's horrible. Because that affects like how you like. Do you feel nauseous?
I was nauseous. I wanted to just lay down. I was walking into walls. It was crazy. But when I
Oh.
healed, I got it. I get why it's a medical decision now. My depth perception, when I drive, I'm like, wow, I should not have been driving at nighttime or
Wow.
motorbikes on Thai highways at 4 a.m. speeding. It's because
Wow.
it it changed everything.
Wow,
Everything.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, I'm very grateful that I did it. It's definitely, I know that by doing it, it's undoubtedly boosted my confidence for sure.
Hmm.
But with that, I'm still so proud of myself for, I wasn't even looking for the solution. I was cool with it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
accentuated it. And so I would say, if to anyone who's considering any changes, I think that do you know what works best for your body, but can you challenge yourself first to love and appreciate that thing that you want to change? Because on the flip side, I feel like if you don't, then it's just going to be this game of what's
Hmm.
next, what's next,
Hmm.
what's next.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. How do you feel about body changes, surgeries, little tweaks?
I feel like everyone needs to do what's going to make them feel best. I think it's a slippery slope if you're doing things for aesthetics, that like one thing might turn into a second thing, might turn into, oh boy, we don't even recognize you anymore. I think that's scary. Um I also think it's so admirable that you just embraced what was going on, because 6th grade me would not be like braiding her arm hair. Like I'm Ecuadorian and Lebanese. We have hair for days. Like, and I remember being made fun of for like my hairy arms, my sideburns, like that kind of vibe. I do have really nice eyebrows though, so thank you to
Facts.
the
Paid
hair guys
off.
for
Paid
that.
off.
I also remember being made fun of for this like vampire tooth that I have. And I really wish that I had made the change, which was Invisalign, and then getting a, I don't even know what they do, but they like put some sort of stuff and it looks like tooth. And now they've reshaped this one
Yeah,
tooth.
yeah.
So it looks like a normal tooth and not a fang. But I wish I had done that years ago, because it's given me so much confidence. There's something about teeth. This is just for me, right?
This is for
I've
Americans.
Well, yes, but also I've seen like American models who have like a nice big gap in their teeth, and I'm like, God, that's
Yeah.
so sexy. Like I love that.
Yeah. Me
But
too.
and like sometimes crooked teeth can be really sexy too. I think
Mm-hmm.
like that looks nice, but man, did I have some crooked bottom teeth, and I was so insecure, and I would see them on my stories. When I talk, you can pretty much only see my bottom teeth. So I have wanted straight teeth and veneers for years, and I did the straight teeth. Invisalign was the best thing I ever did for my confidence. Along with that, I think it's just composite that they put on your teeth to like shape them the way you want them shaped. I don't know that I'm going to invest in veneers. I don't
I
feel like I
know. I'm
really
so
really need it.
torn.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just important to do what feels best for you, and embrace what you can. But man, I never embraced the teeth. I wish I had done the Invisalign years ago. That's
I feel that entirely. And my parents, I had braces in high school. And so it definitely felt good to
Mhm.
always have like the clean
Yeah,
American smile, as people would say.
yeah.
Um,
I think there's something to be said about what you do as a business. Like I'm thinking for myself, if I had done, I have a glute program, for instance. If I had a BBL and I wasn't being straightforward about that, a BBL is a Brazilian butt lift for anyone listening. And basically I don't even really truly know what it is. It's just fat
Fat
injections, no?
transfer.
Yep, from one part of your body to
Hmm.
your butt to shape it a certain way. And I think if I were selling this glute program under the guise of you'll get the same butt I have if you just follow you know, these
These
exercises,
simple
but I
moves.
these simple moves, and then I just never tell you that I got the butt injections, I don't think that's cool at all. Um, but again, like if you want to do those BBL, like go for it. I just think that there's a certain responsibility that comes with if it directly correlates to what you're selling. I think there needs to be some transparency there. But otherwise, I just feel like do whatever you got to do. You know,
Absolutely. And I feel like think about the risk also because like BBLs are the most dangerous surgery to ever exist ever.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I mean, I don't
it's like
really
an
know much
epidemic.
about. I don't know much about BBLs. I only know
Oh,
that
let's
I'm pretty
talk.
sure the Kardashians like have them, except
Yes.
for maybe Courtney.
They've had
And
many.
I feel like it's a really strange, like, I really like hip dips. So, hip dips are just if you're looking at the body from far away and the hips kind of bubble a little bit. And what that is, for anybody who's not sure what that is, it's just essentially the way the femur is shaped and fits into
Mm.
pelvis. Some people will have more pronounced hip dips than others. If you have a higher fat, like body fat percentage, and you tend to carry your body fat in that hip area, you may not have noticeable hip dips, but you may get them if you lose weight. However, some people who get those BBLs get the fat transfer right in that hip dip so that you get a perfect hourglass shape. And to me, that just doesn't look it's not a look that I personally like. I don't find it like aesthetically appealing, and I wouldn't want it for me. But I know a lot of people get them like that.
A lot of people. And yeah, it's a huge thing right now with like BBL safety and going to the right place, like
Yeah, so tell us
Miami.
everything about it.
Oh, let's dive in. Listen. So Miami is the BBL capital, basically.
Did not know
And
that.
there are a lot of doctors in Miami that as a backstory, from what I gather, to conduct a BBL as a plastic surgeon, you only are required to be a doctor, like not a plastic surgeon. You're just required to be a doctor and get some certificate, which apparently everyone just gets fake certificates. And so a lot of people doing BBLs aren't actually plastic surgeons, they're just doctors. And
Yikes.
in Miami, like hotels are overbooked because they have special hotels now in Miami for recovery, different rehabs. If you fly from Miami to somewhere else, you'll have women on your flight sit, like they'll kneel the whole flight and sleep like this, like in the chair, because they have to
Because you
get
can't
home.
sit down.
Yep. And then
How
get
long is
picked
the
up.
recovery? Do you know?
From what I gather, from what I know, your results, like your final product, is 1 year after.
Oh,
So it's some healing time. And it's like a huge thing. So many women are dying from it. Like it's
really?
like an epidemic of BBLs for sure.
Wow.
It's it's really, really, really dangerous.
So you're
It's
taking fat from like what, like under your arm or your inner thigh or
Yep.
whatever, and then
Commonly liposuction from your stomach.
okay, and then transferring, like shooting it back up into
Yep.
the gluteal region, hip area to create that hourglass figure and like bigger butt look.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
the sickness and the dying is coming from what? Just like not
The
your body not
surgery.
accepting it, or
No, dying on the table.
oh God.
Yeah, it's like a huge, because these aren't plastic surgeons. These are,
So
you
they
can
don't
be
really know
an
what they're
ear
doing.
doctor and do a BBL.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay.
legally. And so it's a huge thing in Colombia where I'm at. Also, if you're looking to do anything beauty related, veneers, whatever, come here. It's like for everything else, really, really high quality. But
Hmm.
well, the BBLs too. And it's definitely a thing in Colombia. Almost everyone has a boob job. BBLs everywhere, is super
Hmm.
common.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really dangerous. And so for me, I think that's where my hesitation with anything would come from, is just the risk involved. Kanye's mom,
Yeah.
died as a result.
Yeah.
Even for me, I know just getting anesthesia, I was shook. My eye surgery was the first time in my life I had been put down, and I fought Candace when they woke me up. Fun fact: I hate being woken up. Don't ever wake me up, ever, unless there is something burning, like there's an emergency. Don't wake me up. And they woke me up at the end, and I fought the nurses, and they had to get help. They had to get like 3 or 4 nurses to hold me
See,
down.
I feel very lucky that I've not had to have surgery. I need to knock on literal wood right now because I really
Facts.
am. I'm so scared of being put under for a number of reasons. Top on the list is that what if they don't put me under enough, but I'm like just barely under,
Mm,
and then I can like hear things and
Candace.
they're talking shit about me. Okay, step two, the other reason that I feel like I don't ever want to be put under. What if I wake up and I say some crazy shit like I don't know. I start telling my deepest darkest secrets. All my like weird stuff comes out. Like I don't want any. This cannot happen. This
It's
is why
the
I don't want anything done where I have to be put under.
the definition of vulnerability, no?
Yes, you know those nurses have heard some crazy shit.
Um, Side note, if you love podcasts, I listen to a podcast called Deathbed Confessions. Highly recommend it. You would love it, Candace. It's
Yikes!
scandalous. But yeah, it's
Really?
vulnerable to be in that position. Um, and yeah, yeah. Crazy times. But all that to say, I think, we support doing whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you. Yeah.
That's it.
I also think there's something to be said for like the trend of it all too, because I feel like in the early 90s, the playmate, the Playboy playmate look with
Yep.
like the kind of plastered on implants was like a thing, a look. And now it's the implants that I'm seeing people do are much more natural looking.
Yeah.
And I think the BBL, that bigger look, I don't know, I just think it's sort of trendy, and I think the trends come and go, you know?
Absolutely.
Do you
And I mean,
agree?
same with, for sure, like, that Playboy look, and then also like the heroin chic era, right? When everyone wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be
The Kate Moss. Yeah.
exactly, super thin. And on that side of the confidence vibe, that's that I live more on the can you love what you have,
Yeah.
because like you said, it's a trend. Everything's a trend. Something's always going to be in, something's always going to be out. It cycles, right?
Right.
And yeah, I'd rather work with what I got, and I love what I got.
I also like the idea of, I mean, I feel really happy with what I have. And I also love the idea of seeing where I can go with what I have. So, what I mean by that in terms of like working out, I think it's really cool to see the muscle growth over the
Yes.
course of the last like 10 years, honestly. Like 10 years ago, me is a totally different person from here, just in terms of aesthetics, because I've been working out differently, I've been eating differently, I've been sleeping and just living my life differently. So all of those things impact how you look, and I'm always approaching from a place of curiosity when it comes to working out or not working out.
Without a doubt. That's something that definitely hits home for me because throughout my 20s, I always worked in fitness spaces. Like I
Hmm.
managed countless yoga studios, MMA gyms, CrossFit boxes, all of it. And so I've always, again, I think that was that confidence coming through. Yes, I've always been a bit bigger, well, until now, but I still felt comfortable in those spaces, and I always had a goal of moving my body. And for me, it wasn't until I shifted my why that I really lost weight and kept it off. And I think it's that I fell in love with the idea, like you just said, body sculpting and
Mm.
not just running on a car, on a treadmill. How women, right, were taught
Just for
just do
the sake of
cardio.
running. Yeah,
Yep,
right.
cardio. It's like no. Once I switched to weights, I had this trainer, this personal trainer, while I was living in Cambodia, and he changed my whole life. Honestly, and
Hmm.
I appreciate every fitness space I've worked at because I've learned something new. But he, in particular, like got it was all women, and he just got rid of the cardio part, and it was just all weights. And that's when I was like, wow, look at my body, look at my curves. That's the other thing. It's like curves everyone's body is different, right? But for me, my curves come from weights.
Hmm.
And like you said, the strength. Once I focused to a mission of strength, I lost like 30 pounds. And that was like 2 years ago. Over the course of that time, lost 30 pounds, and I haven't gained any of it back. And I feel like I'm probably going to continue to lose just a little bit more.
Hmm.
But it's the first time where I don't really care. I don't really care
Mm.
what the number is, what I end up as. I just care about how I feel on a daily basis.
How do you feel about like the body positivity movement, and how like the discussion around weight loss and curves and all of that?
Personally, like most things, I find it kind of like oversaturated and annoying.
Mm.
Um, and I've done a few. I remember I was doing this presentation while I was living in Cambodia, and I believe I was talking about how to become a nomad or my life as a nomad for this. I think it was like a speaking competition or something. And this woman came up to me afterwards, and she was like, you got to do something on body positivity. Like, you got to talk about this or something. And I, like a true Megan, like a true narcissist, my slideshow was just different pictures of me in different places in bathing suits. And at the time, I was probably, in my maybe like high 180s or low 180s, somewhere in there. Whereas now I'm in like the 60s. And so I've always, regardless of what I have, I'm gonna love this. Like,
Mhm.
maybe TMI, but like with men, I'm showing off my body. Like, no matter what
Mhm.
size I am, I'm beautiful. And so I've
Mhm.
always been about that. But then it's just kind of like, so you only come to the bigger girls to say
Mm.
that they got to talk about body positivity. And I have a friend
Mhm.
actually who she's actually on the quote unquote thinner side, and her whole brand is kind of body positivity and embracing your body while naked. Um, and it's just not me. It's not my vibe. I actually would rather just like have life positivity where everyone's
Mm.
body just looks like their body and we can just let them live, rather than hyping up the bigger women who decide to show a bit of their body and they're being so
Yeah.
body positive. That's weird.
Mm. You know what else is weird is skinny shaming too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really strange to me. And I have a friend who's super, super, super tiny, and she's so insecure about how tiny she is. Like, she's just like, I've been trying to gain weight forever. And then she did a parasite cleanse and a gut healing, and then she gained like 10 pounds again. She's like,
Hey,
thank you, God. But I
yes.
think, yeah, I don't know. I think that could be probably like a whole episode in and of itself in terms of just like fitness and what does fitness really mean, and is that within the realm of body positivity, or can we just let people be who they are without encouraging them to move? Like, what is the purpose of movement? And is there any way to celebrate moving without having a conversation around changing how you look, or
Mm-hmm.
becoming stronger? Is that something that like everyone has to be, or can we just be who we are? And I hear that, but on the other end of it, I see clients who are older and who are losing bone density. And the best way, like studies have shown, the best way to improve your bone density as we age and as we approach menopause, and even for men who don't go through menopause and they're just aging in general, we lose that bone density. The best way to improve it,
Oh,
resistance training.
wow.
And resistance training doesn't have to mean lifting heavy weight. It could just be doing body weight stuff and
Yep.
squats. And if you're planning on being 90 years old and going to the toilet on your own, you better believe you're going to be doing some squats, because how else are you going to sit down on the toilet and get yourself back up? So I try to approach like the fitnessy stuff, the yoga stuff that I do from a movement place of like, let's age as healthily as we can. And I try not to talk too much about like weight loss, um
You
or weight
definitely
gain
don't.
or anything. Although I did do it once. I did a weight loss thing only because people had asked for it. And I specifically directed it at people who wanted to lose a lot of weight, because it
Mm.
was more about just starting a movement program that's appropriate for people who haven't really moved in a long time, and or like who don't have that as part of their routine. And then I got a lot of backlash from that, which was
Wow.
crazy to me too, because I only made it because people wanted it. Like, I'm not like a weight loss guru. I'm just like, listen, if you want something, ask me and I'll make it for you. So anyway, we did that. It was really really cool, really fun. But I probably won't do that again. It's not on brand for me.
I mean, you can't win. And I feel like with your branding and your messaging, I mean, I'm sure many people listening would agree, it's fire because it's really on the like being intentional with how you move. I think there's just such an emphasis on movement. I know I last week I went to a co-working space and I walked in and I'm like, oh my God, Candace ruined me because I'm like, look at that person's elbows. Look at that person's elbows. Oh my God, everyone here, I can't believe they're doing this. Why did they buy these kind of chairs and pair them with
Yeah.
these tables? Now everyone is going to be hunched over. And
Yeah.
so I watch my feet all the time. I
Hmm.
watch my pelvic tilts, like so how engaged is my pelvic floor? How's my check my brace? By far, I'm so appreciative to you for that because again, everything, all of your programming and your messaging
Mm.
has also helped my body confidence so much because we haven't talked about this, but so much confidence is held in your posture, no?
Yeah.
You're not going to look at someone slumped in a corner like, huh, look at that guy. He must, really think highly of himself. And that's just, for me, that's kind of just not even opinion. I think that's just fact that confidence is spoken through your posture. And you've helped me improve my posture so much. And so undoubtedly
Hmm.
then helps me with my confidence.
I appreciate that.
Me too.
I do think it's important to like I feel really confident in the work that I do, but I also feel like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And so a great resource, if anybody, I just don't feel like you can work in the fitness space without also addressing um the body positivity movement, the and just seeing that sometimes things are rooted in an anti-fat world. And somebody had recommended this book to me. It's called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat, and it's by Aubrey Gordon, and she's on
Mm.
Instagram as Your Fat Friend. And it's just a great book, that talks about cultural attitudes and societal systems, and just how we kind of view fatness, fitness, and how that kind of all goes together. So, a really interesting and eye opening book that I think every instructor, trainer, yoga instructor should definitely check out, and anyone who's just curious about like the fitness world in general, and fatness and how it all fits in there.
because it's huge, especially what you said about skinny shaming. I've had really
Mm,
thin friends my whole life, and I've heard the comments. And it's kind of, again, you kind of just can't win, right? You
you
can't be
can't
too
win.
big, you can't be too thin.
Yeah,
And even I still didn't really understand it until I met my friend Bella, who she has a company called Weight Watchers, and she created it, I think, in the pandemic, and it's designed to help women gain the weight and
nice.
hit the gym. She's super into weights. Um, and it's just also business wise such an untapped market, so go Bella. But
For
then on
sure.
the flip side, like, it's such a needed thing, right? It's so
Mm,
necessary, and I'm so appreciative of her because she puts out content that, like, checks everyone else too. It's not just about the thin person. Yes, they want to gain
mm,
weight, that's cool, but again, it's like those comments are, I think, honestly, commenting on people's bodies as a whole, I find really uncomfortable, and I really don't like it. I think I'm much more of a, I love your vibe, I love your aura, you look great today, rather than well, no, I'll always compliment an ass. A good ass is a good ass. But
See,
the
I appreciate when someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing. You look so good." I don't mind. I like that. If it were like, "Ooh, you've lost weight," or
that's
"Oh, have you gained weight?" Like that, don't comment on weight, but you
yes,
can comment on how I look. I don't know if that makes sense.
perfectly said. I remember when I was 12, I lost a bunch of weight, and I think I was doing 100 sit-ups a day, and I lost all this weight, and I'm like, oh my god, all I had to do was sit-ups. Meanwhile, it's like, that was puberty, bruh.
Right.
But at the time, I'm like, wow, I'm a fitness guru. Look at me.
Mm,
That was the last time in my life I had a flat stomach. And so that's how much weight
mhm,
I had lost. And I went to a
mhm,
friend's house, a Nigerian friend. So if you know, Nigerian parents are very spicy, very direct. And I walked into the house, and her mom is like telling my mom, like, wow, Megan looks so good. She was so fat and she's lost so much weight. I'm just like, well, first of all, this is why I had that confidence, because look at these
mm.
comments. And second of all, I was
But
a
also
child.
that, well, that comment is implying that someone who's fat can't be beautiful, which is an
Right,
untrue statement. Like
right.
there's some, so I have a yoga teacher training curriculum, and one of the courses, one of that's included in it is creating an inclusive environment. And so I have a module on yoga for bigger bodies. I had a lot of people very upset that I called people bigger, but like it's literally what
Ah,
they are. That doesn't mean yoga for people who suck. That's just yoga for bigger people. Bigger people can mean big breasted women. If
right.
you have big breasts and you're going into bridge pose or wheel pose and your boobs aren't choking you, like it, that's a thing that happens. So it's really important that we address that. And there's something you can do. You can put a yoga strap around at the top of the pectoral muscle, not on the actual breast tissue, but put it on there. And then when you go up, your boobs are kind of held in place.
Smart.
Bigger bodies can also mean big athletes. People with huge muscles trying to do eagle pose, you can't do it. The muscle gets in the way. So what do we do? Are we going to shame them because they have big muscles? No. You're going to tell them to do it this way by putting the forearms together, and not encouraging them to do things that literally just are not accessible for them. Bigger bodies also mean people who have like belly fat.
Yeah.
Trying to do a forward fold when you have belly fat, what do? You can't go anywhere. You can push yourself, it's not going to go anywhere. So you have to literally pick up the flesh and pull it forward as you lean forward to do your forward fold. There's nothing in that is inherently bad. It's just sometimes you have to call it what it is. If you are a bigger body, you are a bigger body. If you're a smaller
Yeah.
body, you're a smaller body. That doesn't mean that you are inherently bad or good. It's just like it is what it is. So I think that our language is really important too. And there's a lot of there's a lot that goes into that.
There's so much, but it's like, yeah, all you can do is speak intentionally, right? And like you said, just call it what it is.
Well, and do the best you can until you know better, and you do what you can.
As someone with a bigger body, or at least a bigger lower body, I appreciate all the yoga people and all the fitness people who do educate themselves on different bodies,
Mm.
because I've luckily know myself, but I've had some people, especially when I was bigger, tell me some things, and I'm just like, all right, well, I'm never coming to your class again.
What did they say, if you don't mind me asking?
I've had people ask, like, if I did a headstand in a class, I've had people say, like, wow, I can't believe you can do that because of your
Mm.
size.
Mm.
are you crazy? That doesn't even make sense, first
Yeah.
of all.
No.
I've had, this one is like on the positive side. I did during the pandemic. Well, we're still in it, but in 2020, I did this yoga course on, remember I mentioned it to you? What's the type of yoga it is?
Oh, is that rocket yoga?
Rocket. Yes.
Yeah.
I did a black rocket yoga course. It was specifically for aspiring black yoga teachers. And although it was not the most organized and I did not finish it and I entirely lost interest because of this, it was so bad that the first weekend they were like, does anyone want to help or just like brainstorm how we can clean this up? I hopped on a call, I went in and
Yeah.
then, but they made all the changes I said and it went smoother. So I was
Okay.
like, well, at least we'll
Amazing.
listen. But it wasn't until I took those few classes with them that my inversion practice, whatever improved means, but I became more secure in my inversion practice because I got to see women who have heavier lower bodies. I always
Hmm.
learned from women who are, they're pretty even or maybe they'll have bigger boobs, but my weight pretty much lives and my legs are longer than my torso. So my weight
Hmm.
lives at the bottom and I have a great ass. But that means
Hmm.
that when I get upside down, the gravity is going to pull that ass, right?
Right. Right.
And so then I got to learn from women who had bodies like mine to help me. And then that's when I got to improve. And so, yeah, to any instructor, fitness person, it matters. It makes, well, if you care, right? You could just target one demographic. But those of us with the bigger bodies and the different bodies and the smaller bodies, we really do appreciate it when you make the effort.
For sure. What do you do when you're not feeling confident? Or do you just like wake up every day like, I'm so amazing?
Nah, well, yeah, kind of. I would say it's more so about when I'm not feeling my best than when I'm not feeling
Mm.
confident. Because
Hmm.
although we're going to experience self doubt, and that's a part of the game, um, I'm still the greatest to ever do it. So that's usually okay. But when I do not feel well, then I indulge in self care. And so my morning
Hmm.
routines, I'll like, if I don't feel like doing it, I make myself do it. I make myself move, um, take a shower, eat a clean meal, reach out to
Hmm.
someone. It's so
Hmm.
cliche, right? It's so cliche. Um, but it really is true. It's like I just indulge in myself, honestly. I dive into that selfishness because again, I aspire to lead with love in all that I do. And I really want to be loving to the people around me that I care for so much. And so
Hmm.
I take taking care of myself as a necessity because I love them so much.
Right.
So yeah, I dive into myself and I rest.
Teach me your ways. No, I've been pretty good. When I first started, not when I first started, because I started in 2012, but when I started my business, it was go, 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 go until about like 2015, 14, 15. I had like a nervous breakdown. It was just too much. I was burning the candle at both ends, working all the time, and never resting. And that that breakdown was rough physically,
Mm,
emotionally, threw my hormones off. I'm pretty sure I had adrenal fatigue. Like I was a mess. And I had to take a really big step back. And I'm really thankful for that time. It's always like the big things, right? I'm
yes.
thankful for that time because now when I feel the stress levels rising, I just curb them right away. I don't let them get above a certain point, and I just start to say no to things. I start to put up major boundaries, and I just take care of myself and whatever that looks like. Sometimes that means I'll delete Instagram for the day off my phone so I can't even access it. Sometimes that means leaving my phone totally at home, which is a weird experience that I think everyone should do once in a while. Sometimes that means, just tuning everything out, watching a stupid TV show, making myself laugh, just moving my body, eating something good. The same stuff you were talking about. But for me, the trigger is noticing how I'm reacting to my day-to-day life. And if I feel like I'm
Yeah.
operating at a really high level of stress, I'm like, all right, I got to take a step back before it gets out of control.
So on that note, let me ask you, when do you feel like you feel least confident?
I feel least confident when I am either flailing with business. So over honestly the last year and a half, I've felt very unconfident. Is that the word?
I don't know.
Because uh because I just felt like I was paralyzed from the Yoga by Candace thing. I felt like I was pigeonholed into Yoga by Candace, wanted to change that name to reflect all the other things I do, the posture, the fitness, the glute, whatever. Um I was really hemming and hawing over how do I move forward. And I just felt like such a poser. Like, here I am, but advertising something totally different than what I'm giving you. Like, it just felt so disconnected. And then once I realized that the Yoga by Candace couldn't be changed, that Instagram doesn't let you change your username when you're a verified person, that was almost the biggest blessing, because it's like, all right, well, I don't have a choice. Well, I do have the choice to, shut it all down, do something different. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, all right, choice is made for me. Now I can just be who I want to be and put things out there. And what's so crazy is I took a vacation at Turks and Caicos like a week and a half ago. And I sat down on night one because I was really determined to move forward during this vacation. And it was like a working vacation,
Of
as
course.
everything is. So I sat down with my phone and I explained everything that I'd been through. So it was a combination of that. It was also a combination of the injury I had. So I sustained a couple T-spine herniations. And for anyone who's never had a herniation in their spine, let me just tell you, you wouldn't wish it upon your worst enemy. It is
Mm.
so painful. Our spine is our core center. Everything you do is from the core of your body, which is your spine. So if it's messed up in any way, it's just constant chronic pain that you can't really escape. And so my every waking moment was either slight misery or total misery for
Wow.
about over a year, until I really figured out, the issue and fixed it. So when I can't move the way I like to move, when I'm in chronic pain, when I'm having struggles with business, all of that was a recipe for, I have no confidence. But like I said, I'm so grateful for all those things because now I can move forward and I feel on top of the world. So, also for anyone who's listening out there, if you are in a rut, just keep going. If you're going through hell, just keep going, because the other side of it is so wonderful.
Every time. Every time. Anything to add before we take a little break?
No, let's do it.
There is no doubt about it. Your success is rooted in self love and confidence. As a coach, I help women transform their relationships with self and elevate their confidence. If you're a woman on a mission to live happily and love yourself while you do it, welcome to the Selfish Reset. The Selfish Reset is a monthly membership where each month we dive into a new theme designed to elevate your confidence. From discipline to fitness to money management, you'll receive support and get access to a community of driven and compassionate women here to support you. We get started on the first of each month, and you can register at lifemade.com/selfish. That's lifemade, MAED.com/selfish. See you soon in the Selfish Reset.
So, welcome back. We are talking about confidence today. And I'm curious in terms of like body confidence. What do you, when you go to move your body, what is your why?
Oh, well, we said this may be kind of problematic, but I really want to feel strong and I really want to feel good. And I know that I feel good when I move consistently. It's not an option. And like I mentioned, when I turned 30, whew, things changed. I got away with a lot in my 20s, but I just had to prioritize moving and loving my body in that way. What does movement mean to you?
Well, first, I want to say that I don't think that it's problematic to say that. I think because you're talking about yourself. And so,
Right.
whatever you aspire to do or feel or be, like, that's totally, I think that should be celebrated. I think the problem comes when it's like, all of you people out there need to be this cookie cutter version of what I had defined health or perfection to be. And I think that's the problematic part. So, I celebrate you wanting
Thank
to be
you.
strong. I too like to feel strong. For me, movement is about a celebration of health, because this goes back to when I had Lyme disease. It attacked everything, and I couldn't even walk my dog, never mind dance or do a little wiggle or jiggle down the stairs. I couldn't walk to the mailbox without being in pain. I couldn't grip the steering wheel without being in pain. It attacked my joints. And so movement for me is never a punishment. I really hate that approach. I do not like when trainers are like, earn your donuts. Like, you're not a fucking dog. You do
Right.
not need to earn your treats. Eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and enjoy every single bite. Do not operate from a place of guilt. Like, life is way too short for that nonsense. I do not like that at all. And so similarly, I don't like, the no pain, no gain. Like, I don't like the push, whatever.
Yeah.
I will push myself very hard because I enjoy the challenge. I celebrate the fact that I can push myself, like, physically. I really like that. But yeah, so for me, it's about a celebration of health. And I love to dance. I love to be active. I have a Siberian Husky. I think it's important to just move every day. I think the worst things that we can do for our health, the worst thing we can do for our health is just be sedentary and not move at all. I think that's a recipe for, bone density loss and lack of mobility, and all of that can eventually lead to injury. And as someone who's dealt with T-spine herniations, you do not want any injury to your spine.
Preach. And I think, like you
Yeah.
said, it's to not move is for me moving from a place of non-gratitude, because like
Mm,
last year with the parasites for months, I could hardly get out of
mm.
bed. I had struggled to walk to the grocery store or to walk down a
Tell
flight of
people a
stairs.
little bit about, like, a little backstory to that.
Oh, so well, luckily it was basically you noticing certain symptoms in me and saying, "Hey, I don't know, but this is what I think is showing up for you." And I'm so grateful. I had a few questions. Like I remember I went to you asking, oh, the first thing I asked you. I'm very vain and I'm proud of it, so it is what it is. But I went to Candace and I was like, "Listen, I have been working out consistently for so long, and like so long meaning like a year. I
That's
was
a long
making
time.
true, and it was the most consistent I had ever been. I felt
Yeah.
good, I looked good, my so strong, my everything was dope. But I still had a belly, and I'm not like on a I don't care when it happens, but I do want to accomplish a flat stomach because I haven't had one since I was 12. Like you said, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that that's everyone's goal. It is one of mine. I'm just not really concerned about when I get there. But I
Mm-hmm.
messaged you and I was like, it's not going away. Do I have to stop drinking mezcal? Because I really love it and I live in Mexico. And you were like, no. And that helps me though, because that's when you taught me about my brace and
Mm-hmm.
adjusting how I stand right in my posture, changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
Changes your whole visual aesthetic just in how you stand. But then also
Mm-hmm.
you just started pointing out my fatigue and all of these different things, nutrient deficiencies. All that to say, I I did not go to a doctor right away. That was like April when we first met in Costa Rica. I continued to push through in true Megan fashion. I was traveling a lot, moving around a lot, and I was exhausted. I was exhausted. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I think by like July, I knew. I'm like, okay, this has to be what she's saying. This has to be parasites. And so I had already planned to go to this naturopath and get some coffee colonics done, some hydrotherapy. And part of that is to get your blood tested and to see, what your vibe is. And I went the first day and I was supposed to go, but I got really bad food poisoning for a week. So I didn't go. They're like, no, come in. Like we can help you with the food poisoning. We can clear it out. I'm like, I
Sometimes
can't.
that's parasitic too. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because it's like a littlest trigger. So I'm like, okay, I'm convinced. But then I'm telling them, I can't make it to you for you to help me,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want me to shit or throw up on this colectivo. The colectivo in Mexico is like just a shuttle bus that takes you anywhere. Um, and so I don't go. So then I go later. So basically, they take my blood, they put it under a microscope, and they put it on the TV screen, which is super dope. So she's pointing out stress, parasites, candida. I think she pointed out something with an H. Just there's so much in there. She's telling me things about my childhood. She's like, this happened to you when you were younger, right? Because you have this, and I'm like, yes. It was
Wow.
crazy. And when I tell you, Candace, they were shook. They're looking at my blood like, oh my God, how have you been
Really?
surviving? How
Stop.
yeah, I'm
Wow.
smiling. I'm being Megan. I'm cheesing. I'm like, this is amazing because I had the confirmation. All I cared,
Right.
I didn't even
You had
care
a
what
you
was
had
to
a
come.
solution. Yeah.
That's it. Because at least if you know
Mhm.
what it is, we can fix it. I was so low. And the biggest thing for me in regards to my whole gut health journey and the parasites was I was getting wildly depressed. And I
Mhm.
am, I intentionally choose happiness every day. And I wasn't in
Mhm.
a place where I could choose. And I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
this isn't me. Something is off here. And so
Mhm.
obviously I am not a doctor and I know nothing, but yo, if you feel like your depression has been lasting for a very long time and you just can't do anything about it, get your gut checked, get your blood checked. So I do
100%.
this. They look at my blood. I get a colonic done. My first colonic ever. I did not know what to expect. That was an experience.
Mhm.
I'm watching the parasites come out of me, and it was so bad that the doctor came back after. I guess there's a tube, and she looked at everything in the tube. I was supposed to come back. That was a Friday. I was supposed to come back on Tuesday. It was so bad. They said, you have to come back here tomorrow. So I
Oh
got
my
two
gosh.
colonics, my first two colonics of my entire life in
Wow.
24 hours, because that's how bad it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I spent a month with like really intense ozone treatments, which is, I guess, controversial to ozone therapy, but it worked very well for me. I had a very strict meal plan. And my favorite part is that I didn't take any drugs. I didn't do
Mhm.
anything with no antibiotics, no nothing. It was herbs and food and these ozone therapies. Um, but it changed my life. But I was not able to work out from May until December. And December wasn't even workout. December was like light movement, restorative yoga vibes.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
not do a headstand, couldn't do anything.
Right.
And so that's definitely why I moved now. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah. I strongly recommend people looking into parasite cleanses through their naturopath under the supervision of a doctor, like functional medicine doctor, like somebody who understands, because you definitely don't want to do it on your own for sure.
Absolutely not.
But man, it was like a life changer for me. I do one every month, every month, every year. But I'll probably start doing them once a quarter, just like more gentle ones, because I think
Yeah,
it's so helpful.
so
Yeah.
necessary. I think I need one right now.
Same.
I
I'm gonna do one after I get back from Costa Rica.
I like it. I feel it for sure. And
Yeah.
especially, I mean, like I said, the people I know in Mexico, my Spanish teacher, she does it twice a year, her whole life, and she does it to her dogs too. They do it at the same time.
When I
Um,
was like learning about them, because initially when my naturopath was like, maybe you should do a parasite cleanse, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have parasites. And she's like, I hate to break it to you, but we all do. And she was just explaining that up until like the early 50s, we dewormed our families just like we deworm our pets to this day. And then somewhere along the lines, like in the 50s, we just stopped doing it. It became taboo to do. And so we don't do it anymore. But a lot of cultures still do.
yes,
And I definitely, if you're dealing with anything wild and crazy, anything from, candida overgrowth, yeast infections, clenching your jaw and grinding it at night, restless leg syndrome, uh,
waking up in the middle of the night, sweating in the
brain
middle of the
fog,
night, the brain
brain fog.
fog.
Mhm.
Ooh, the brain fog,
Any kind of rashes, itchiness, anything like that, whiteness on your tongue, all of that
cracked
could
lips.
could be parasitic. So you might want to check it out with your
So
naturopath.
many things. And if you do
Yeah.
want to explore and you're like, I don't know if this applies to me, there's a book called Candida Crusher by Eric Baker. This book changed my life. And it breaks down different symptoms and different ways that it could be tied to yeast or parasites in a very simple way, in a very easy
Mm,
way. And he has a quiz online. I think it's called like I think he owns yeastinfection.com or yeastinfection.org. Highly
mhm,
recommend taking it. My mom took it and
mhm,
it said that she had a yeast overgrowth and she checked with her doctor and she did. So it's
mhm.
a super helpful if you want to at least just explore.
Yeah. I'm so grateful too that I'm like studying this nutrition course, and I think I had avoided it for so long because I didn't want to be the person who's like, here's the meal plan on how to lose weight. Like I just that's not my vibe at all. But luckily you're not even supposed to do that with this certification that I'm working towards. Instead it's more about um understanding the macros and making sure that you're getting sufficient amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats to work optimally and live optimally and feel really good in your body. And then also understanding the micronutrients. So the way that it was explained is the macronutrients, fats, carbs, proteins are kind of like the engine of the car. And then the micronutrients are like the oil within the engine that makes the car run smoothly. So I just, it's taught me so much. I'm really excited to continue learning and then bring that to my work as well. Just from a place of overall health and making sure you're getting what you need. I think because the other thing with food is that we tend to cherry pick and just eat what we like
Mm-hmm.
versus
Mm-hmm.
eating a variety of things. And the variety is like really where it's at.
Entirely. That was the biggest thing I took from my gut mission that I'm still in is like, oh, I gotta eat
Mm.
things that I don't like.
What do you eat now that makes you feel good and healthy and therefore confident?
Ooh, that's a big one. I'm really big on how I eat. Veggies, like any, for the most part, I love any vegetable. Vegetables really are, I say veggies are my bestie. As a kid, I used to beg my parents, like, please, can I just have this pot of spinach?
Oh
So
my gosh, you're like a
yeah,
dream child.
I was meant to be vegetarian. You know, how for some people
Mm-hmm.
it's just a thing. Like it was meant to happen. And I think if my parents were watching certain things, I never wanted to see raw meat. I never ate
Mm-hmm.
meat with bones. I refused. And I think if they were watching, they probably could have saw it a little early. So it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, vegetables and just clean and eating with consistency. That's another thing is like
Mm-hmm.
properly nourishing myself, right? And I will say a big change that I've made is, and you've helped me with this so much, is eating less sugar. And
Mm-hmm.
that definitely helps me. I'm still on my anti-candida mission. And so I have to be very careful, but I just feel it now instantly. And I'm grateful for it because it's helping show me like, all right, here's where we're at for the long run. You know, this isn't like a quick thing. This isn't like a fad. This is, we're here to stay basically. What do you
Yeah.
eat that makes you just feel good?
Uh, for me, it's just making sure that I'm eating consistently throughout the day. There was a period of time where I was super busy, had a weird schedule, and then I would like unintentionally undereat just because of lack of preparation. And now I've been doing meal prep, and it really doesn't matter. I don't really care what I eat. I just want it to be good. So I like very simple stuff. I'm a meat or fish person with some veggie and a complex carb.
Boom, call
That's
it a day.
boom, call it a day. Do that 3 times and then add a snack of like a protein shake, just to make sure I'm getting enough protein. Protein's really hard for me to hit. But anyway, yeah, just eating consistently, very simple, clean meals. I do not like sauces. I do not like salads where the dressing is like soup at the bottom. Like I just like very light, simple, salt and pepper, olive oil, like that kind of stuff. Very, I guess, like Mediterranean, I would say.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that word. Sounds very
Yeah,
Spanish.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. And for me, I feel like that confidence comes in again, the self-care, the self-nourishment,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
You feel confident because you're taking care of yourself well, and so now you can take care of other things well. And so I really feel like for most people, confidence is rooted in your self-care. And
Yeah,
like we
I
said, the
agree with that.
effort.
Yeah. So for anyone listening who is like lacking in the confidence area, I would encourage you to check in with your self-care routine and see, are you nourishing yourself? Are you sleeping enough? Do you have a great morning and evening routine? Are you making sure that you're putting yourself first regardless of children, spouses, whatever? Make sure that you are first on the list so that you can then show up for everybody else better in your life.
That's it. Is there anything else you want to touch on in regards to confidence, body confidence, self care, self love before we go?
No, this was a really fun episode.
Yay, I loved it. Well, you already said that I would.
No
I will
surprise.
say, no surprise. I would say my last thing, because you kind of touched on this earlier. You said, you were saying something about yourself and how, like, to some people, it's such a faux pas, right, to speak highly
Right.
of yourself.
Mhm.
I am a huge proponent for bragging. I brag on
Hmm.
myself. I have a page in my passion planner called Brag About It, where I write out all my accomplishments with the date. And
I
at the
love
end of the
that.
year, I love it so much. I get to sit at the end of the year and read back all of my accomplishments. Nothing's too big, nothing's too small. Brag, hype yourself up. And if you notice that people get a little salty when you're hyping yourself up, maybe those aren't the people for you. And
Mhm.
conversely, notice if you get a little salty when someone speaks highly of themselves, and maybe there's some checking
Mm.
in, because that's okay, right? But you just got to
Right.
correct it. So you got
Yeah.
to acknowledge it to be able to correct it. And yeah, maybe you're the person that gets a little salty when someone speaks highly about themselves. But I will say that's one way I have never fallen short since I was a kid. I'm gonna be my number one cheerleader. I will always hype myself up. I'm gorgeous. I talk to myself in the mirror. I have conversations with myself. When I finish a hard task or something I've been putting off, I'm just like, Megan, wow. Like, you are the greatest to ever do it. You love your future self. You're so dedicated to your business and you. And look how you just held yourself down. I knew you could do it. I'm psycho, but it works. And hype yourself up. I am anti humble. I don't like the word. That's just
I
me.
love it. I love it because I feel I'm smiling so hard right now because I remember I told you about a client that I got. I'm not going to say who it is because I feel like that's like weird, but I got a singer that everybody probably knows, and
For
I
sure.
told you about it because I was just like, and you responded that you and Bammy were playing her song
Yep. We
in
were
like,
just
I think you were still
dancing.
in like Mexico, and you're like, we're dancing on the balcony in your honor. And like, those are the people I need in my life. I'm not
Facts.
gonna like when I made that promise to myself to not play small, I'm not playing small. I want people who celebrate me so that I feel good about celebrating myself and continue that pattern. So thank you for showing up as you because
Always.
it's always such an encouragement to me to keep like I still have work to do in that. Like
We all do.
I have to unlearn like years of, don't brag, don't be selfish, and I have to unlearn that. But I really appreciate how you show up because it's so inspirational.
Oh, thank you. I will always be here to celebrate you. Always.
Yay.
I find really great pleasure. I think my Instagram tagline is your biggest cheerleader. Like,
Love it.
yeah, I'm always here to hype people up. Always, always. And those people are out there and I know they are because they're my friends. And
Mhm.
so if you also your
Yeah.
self-confidence, how Candace mentioned, checking on your self-care routine, checking how you're talking to yourself, check your circle as well.
Yeah,
Watch how
for
people are
sure.
speaking to you. Yeah.
I love it.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed episode 2 of Made with Intention. We'll be back next Monday with our next episode. And until then, you can follow Candace at Yoga by Candace on Instagram and TikTok. I gotta re-record that because I gotta redo it. I'm sorry,
It's
Dan.
also not episode 2.
It's not everything's off. The next episode is discussing confidence, and then it says follow me, so I'm like, you can follow Candace. Let me update this. It's my bad. I didn't
Okay.
update it for this one. And
Okay.
that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed. This is episode 4. Yeah,
Just say we hope you enjoyed this episode because who
facts.
knows?
Yeah, facts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Made with Intention. We'll be back next Monday. We'll be back next Monday. I won't talk about that either. I'll just say we'll be back next Monday. Until then, you can follow. I said you can follow you. You can follow.
Just say you can follow us, and then that way we can just keep it the same every time, you
Okay,
know?
dope. Until then, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. All right. Did you pause it? If anything, this one's for later,
No,
so I
I
could be.
started writing the message, so then I'm going to say we're going to pick up at 1:23. So let's start there. Ready? It's 5, 4.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Made with Intention. We'll be back next Monday. Until then, you can